Hey guys, welcome to another video. Welcome to my favourite movies from A to Z. I remember a year ago I did my favourite movie from every year I've been alive, along with my favourite animated film from every year I've been alive. But I haven't done my favourite movies from A to Z yet, so thought I could do it because it's a fun one to do, starting with each letter of the alphabet. So got them all written down. Sorry to hiccup. Got them all written down in my notepad in case I forgot something. So let's get to it. Starting with the miracle, I went with 10 Things I Hate About You. 10 Things I Hate About You is a really great film. One of my favourite teen films. One of my favourite romantic comedies as well. It's basically like Shakespeare's For Taming of the Shrew, but set in high school. Heath Ledger, Julia Stiles, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt are all really good in this film. Super funny, super enjoyable. I love this movie. For A, I went with Avengers Endgame. Infinity War is really great, but if I'm just going to pick one Avengers film, I'm going with Endgame because it's my favourite out of all the main 4 Avengers films. Probably my favourite MCU film. The Russo brothers directed it so perfectly for a 3-hour film that concludes the Infinity Saga of the MCU, because the MCU as a whole is still going, but this one is fantastic. For B, I went with Back to the Future. If you know my channel well enough, then you probably already know that it's my favourite movie by now, so don't really need to talk about it. For C, I went with Casablanca. Another movie I've talked about in my top 25 favourite movies list, my favourite Warner Brothers movies list. It's probably my favourite movie of the 1940s, one of my favourite classic films as well, one of my favourite black and white films. Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, Claude Rains, Paul Henry are all amazing. The writing is top notch, along with the direction from Michael Curtis. The romance is great, the lines are iconic, and that's why I love this movie. For D, I went with Die Hard. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. One of the greatest action movies ever. Also a brilliant Christmas movie too. Bruce Willis is kick-ass as John McClane. Alan Rickman is brilliant as one of the greatest movie villains ever. Hans Gruber has a great character story about this cop taking down these terrorists to face a battle. And I love it for that reason. Where was I? For E, I went with Encanto. Talked about this movie so many times. I love everything about it, from its creative story, enjoyable characters, the important message about being more than just a gift. It has amazing music, and it's just a film that will always put a smile on my face, so love it. Alright, for F, I went with Frozen 2. The first Frozen is a great film, but I think this one is even better. I think its story is even better. The characters like Anna, Elsa, Kristoff, Sven and Olaf are just as enjoyable as they were in the first one. The new characters are interesting as well. The new songs are amazing, especially Into the Unknown, and easily one of my favourite animated sequels and one of my favourite Disney sequels too. So, yeah. For G, I went with Goodfellas. Goodfellas is definitely my favourite Martin Scorsese movie. It's one of my favourite mob movies. Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci and Ray Liotta all give amazing performances, especially Joe Pesci since he won the Oscar for this movie. The dialogue in this movie is quotable, but I'm funny. How? Funny like a clown, I amuse you. And I just love Goodfellas, it's so good. For H, I went with the Harry Potter franchise. I'm going with all of them because I couldn't decide on just one, since they are all amazing. I mean, yes, the Fantastic Beasts movies are flawed films, but Harry Potter has no bad movies since they follow the books very well. Sure, they left some bits out, but that doesn't take away what they did right, with perfect casting choices, great world building, and it's a global and a great franchise. For I went with It's a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful Life is my favourite Christmas movie of all time. One of my favourite classic films as well. Jimmy Stewart is amazing as George Bailey. Has a good dramatic story about what the world would be like if George Bailey didn't exist. It has a great message about being careful what you wish for. And it's a truly wonderful film. For J, I went with Jaws. One of my all-time favourite Steven Spielberg movies, right up there with Jurassic Park, E.T., The Extraterrestrial. Raiders of the Lost Ark and others. The three main characters, Brody, Quint and Hooper, make this movie great. Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw and Richard Dreyfuss give really good performances. It's very intense. The score by John Williams is iconic and it's an awesome movie. Anyways, where was I? For K, I went with Kiki's Delivery Service. Definitely one of my favourite Studio Ghibli films. And another one of my favourite Hayao Miyazaki films. It's a great anime, slice of life, coming of age film about a girl running her own delivery service and becoming a witch. Such a simple story to follow. Doesn't need a villain. Has great voice acting, likeable characters, beautiful animation, memorable music, and I love this movie. And anyways, for L, I went with the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Again, I'm going to go with all three films because all three are amazing. The Hobbit trilogy I have a soft spot for, but for Lord of the Rings is just a cinematic achievement by Peter Jackson. The Return of the King would probably be my favourite of the trilogy, though, since it won 11 Academy Awards. The only other two films to do that are Ben-Hur and Titanic. The Fellowship of the Ring is a great beginning. The Two Towers is still an awesome middle part of the story, and definitely a trilogy that will always hold up to me. For M, I went with Mary Poppins, one of my all-time favourite movie musicals, and definitely my favourite live-action Disney film. One of my favourite live-action Disney films. Love the songs. Julie Andrews' performance as Mary Poppins is great. Dick Van Dyke as Bert is also good. And it's a timeless movie that will always put a smile on my face anytime I watch it. Also, rest in peace Richard M. Sherman. Thank you for writing the songs for this movie, along with your brother Robert B. Sherman. For N, I went with North by Northwest. North by Northwest is like one of my favourite Alfred Hitchcock films ever. Definitely in the top three. Cary Grant gives an amazing performance as Roger Thornhill, who's this advertising man who's been mistaken for a spy. It's very well edited, very well shot, especially with that aeroplane scene. Has a great score, and overall, it's a great movie. For O, I went with October Sky. October Sky is such a fantastic and uplifting film that tells the story about Homer Hickam, who dreams about becoming an NASA engineer. Jake Gyllenhaal, Chris Cooper are both amazing in this movie. It has excellent message about chasing your dreams. I love how they talk about science and experimenting with different types of small rockets. It's just so good. Right, for P, I went with Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Definitely my second favourite John Hughes movie, along with The Breakfast Club being my personal favourite. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving since I'm from the UK, but still my favourite Thanksgiving movie anyways. One of my all-time favourite 80s comedies. Such a funny movie. Steve Martin and John Candy both give really good performances in this film. They're both really good, and I love it. For Q, I went with A Quiet Place. Really good post-apocalyptic horror film about these two parents played by John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, who struggle to survive and raise their children in a post-apocalyptic world. The aliens have scary but great designs. The story is very interesting and definitely one of my favourite horror films of the 2010s. For R, I went with Rear Window. Rear Window is my second favourite Alfred Hitchcock film. It has such a great story about a photographer called L.B. Jeffries who thinks one of his neighbours is a murderer and he turns out to be right. Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly give top-notch performances. It's such a masterpiece. For S, I went with Spirited Away. Easily one of my favourite anime movie of all time, and one of my number one favourite Studio Ghibli film. Hayao Miyazaki did an amazing job with the way he directed this movie. Some of the best moments in all of anime films, especially with the scene of Chihiro on the train, is masterful. It's timeless. I love the characters and its story, and everything about it is just incredible to me. For T, I went with Top Gun Maverick. Talked about this movie a lot already. It's my favourite action movie sequel ever. I love the first Top Gun, but this sequel is just greater. Don't have anything else new to say other than For you, I went with Unbreakable. Easily my favourite of M. Night Shyamalan's good movies. Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson are outstanding in this film. Robin Wright is great too. It's a great superhero film about this former football player called David Dunn who survives a train crash with no injuries, which makes him realise that he harbours superhuman abilities. The score by James Newton Howard is amazing. The ending is really good. Split is a good sequel, and Glass was okay, but this one is an awesome movie. For V, I went with Vertigo. Another Alfred Hitchcock masterpiece about this former police detective who retires due to his fear of heights and vertigo, and his hire to prevent an old friend of his from suicide. Again, Jimmy Stewart's performance is great. Top-notch cinematography that might make you afraid of heights, but it's very good. For W, I went with Wonka. I love 1971's Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I do have a soft spot for Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but I really loved this prequel origin story about Willy Wonka himself. Timothy Chalamet is just so delightful as Willy Wonka. Hugh Grant is great as Lofty the Oompa Loompa. The entire supporting cast is great. The music's great. Definitely another feel-good movie for me. For X, I went with X-Men First Class. Definitely one of my favourite X-Men movies. I love its story, the characters. I think James McAvoy is great as Charles Xavier. And it gives me everything I want from an X-Men movie. So, for UI, I went with Yellow Submarine. Really great Beatles movie. It's a fun jukebox musical film. Love the animation in this movie. The timeless. We all live in a yellow submarine. A yellow submarine. A yellow submarine. And it's just my favourite Beatles movie, so that's all I gotta say. Anyways, for Z, I went with Zombieland. Easily one of my favourite zombie movies. Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray are very good in this film. It's a great horror comedy, has interesting zombie apocalypse story. I love the jokes, love the action scenes, and yeah, I love Zombieland. So yeah, those are my favourite movies from A to Z. So what are your favourite movies starting with each letter of the alphabet? Tell me down in the comments, and thanks for watching, and may the force be with you.